Hello, everybody. Super keen to get stuck into today's session. Before we do, I would like to begin tonight by acknowledging the traditional owners and sovereign custodians on the land that we are meeting on today, the Wurundjeri Wurrung people of the Eastern Kulin Nations, and pay my respect to their elders and ancestors, past and present. Also, in addition, in relation to tonight's session, I'd also like to recognise First Nations people's wisdom and knowledge and connection to language, storytelling, art and culture. They are the original storytellers. I would like to extend my respect to any First Nations peoples with us today. It always was, always will be Aboriginal land. My name is Sarah. Hello, everybody. I am the music director at SYN, which is a community radio station based here in Naarm, creating content for young people, by young people. And as a part of my role, I listen to a lot of music to try and make sure that the station is sounding youthful, freshful, new word. But essentially, we want it to sound like what young people are listening to, but we also want it to be an opportunity for young people to find their new favourite artist. So when receiving music, often the first thing we see is the press pictures, the album artwork, the music video sometimes. All of those things are super vital to the storytelling of an artist, and it's for that reason I'm super stoked to be hosting this music industry masterclass for The Push, all about creating visuals. If you're here tonight and you're like a little bit unfamiliar with The Push, maybe this is your first sort of interaction. They are a super cool youth music organisation creating opportunities for young people to learn more about the music industry, really break down those barriers. I've had conversations with like several of you already tonight, how it's like a tough shell to crack sometimes if you're wanting to sort of get stuck into a career in music. It can be really hard to know where to start, and organisations like The Push are really great in helping build and break down those like barriers, I suppose, and like help create opportunities for young people like tonight to connect, get to know each other, and also speak to some really super cool people that we've got lined up. They also implement opportunities for young people to experience live music. They just recently did the All Ages tour. I went to a Cry Cub Sport one in Hawthorne not too long ago, which was so great. Cub Sport are like one of my favourite artists ever, and I think a big part of that is because when I was younger they were always doing all ages gigs, so I think it's really important to foster those opportunities. That's what The Push are doing all the time, but especially tonight for this music industry masterclass about creating your visuals. I've got a few people who are about to come out with me. They are super cool, and for like a bunch of different reasons that they are on the panel tonight. So first of all, if we can get them all out now and we can do a little clap. Maybe? No? Okay, first of all, we have Jaguar Jones, who is an incredible musician. Whenever they choose to come out. Incredible musician. Their recent album, Bunny Mode, is super cool and blends art and pop. They are en route, do not worry. We also will be joined by Julia McGrone, who their artwork is super bright. They are an artistic director. They do like Cry Club, Tones Night, Tash Sultana, Rolling Stone covers, Times Square billboards. The list goes on. We also will have Triana Hernandez with us, who creates so many great music videos. Filmmaker, creative art director. Think Amel and the Sniffers, Gordy. Like the list goes on. It's like a very like stacked and also very mixed range of artists that they work with. So I'm very excited to have them come out, hopefully in a moment, to chat about creating visuals. Come on through. No, go. Do it. You are so good. Amazing. So, from left to right, we've got Julia, Triana in the middle, and then Jaguar Jones, otherwise known as Dina. Thank you all so much for coming. And just a reminder as well, there should be QR codes that will pop up behind me, also throughout the room. If you have any questions, that is the place to send those ones through. So we're here tonight to chat about visuals, which is obviously such an important thing for musicians, whether it's like album covers, press pictures, all those things to help bring a artist into a visual medium. You all work quite differently across that landscape. I'll start with you, Dina. With the project Jago Jones, I feel like your artwork is super distinctive. How did you sort of navigate what you wanted the world of Jago Jones to look like?
I mean, it always changes.
Yeah.
But I think it's just representative of who I am as a person. And in the beginning, it's really hard to define what that is. And I always kind of recommend doing a mood board. And then when you go and do that mood board, like using Pinterest or something, and you just kind of like pin whatever you like. And then from there, eliminate the stuff that doesn't feel right to you. And then you look at that as like, that's my world. And when you make decisions, you can refer back to that mood board and go, does it fit into this world? And is this what I want communicated out there? And I think, now that Jaguar Jones is 5 years old, like a baby.
Like a prep.
Now I don't need to do that so much. It's very much ingrained in me on what I think is me, and those decisions come a lot more quicker. But when you're starting out, you're still trying to figure out what your artistry is, and you'll constantly refine it. And that kind of process changes with every cycle. But I think what Jaguar Jones, people are always kind of like, oh, that's so Jaguar Jones. It's because you're making the same artistic choices all the time. That's representative of who I am as a person and as an artist. So
yeah, I love that you can almost use Jaguar Jones as like an adjective to be like, that's so Jaguar Jones. In a similar sort of light, so you obviously are creating visuals, you're very involved in that process. On the opposite end, we have Julia and Triana, who are often working really closely with artists to create visuals. I'll ask Julia first. How did you sort of tap into that world of creating work like with artists?
It was a bit of a random journey there. I wanted to be a geriatric nurse. I love old people. And then I sort of went to art school, and I sort of fell into it. I never meant to be in the music industry. I absolutely love it, and it is so the right place. But it sort of just started with like my friend Alex Leahy. She's an Australian artist, but she was in a band before Alex Leahy, which was called Animo, and they used to play at the Evelyn a lot and did the Evelyn residencies. And I remember she invited me to come along, and I was like, whoa, what? Okay, sorry. I was like, this is okay. I can't not. So this is fucking
this is
amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, this is just like phenomenal. And I just started like shooting live a lot because I was like, this is great. And then I realized like the bands were like, thanks for the pics. And like now I look back and I'm like, don't shoot gigs for free. But I was like, like the whole time, just because I was like, I didn't know it was even an industry. I didn't know that there was a whole world around the music. I was just like, whoa, this is awesome. And then so the more lives, and then I learnt through that there was press photography, and then there were album covers, and then there were single covers, and all of the things that were associated. But it sort of just came from just finding like smaller bands and just like really believing in them. And my language is a visual language. So I'm not able to be like I went to art school and I created artwork for myself. And I really admire Dina for Jaguar Jones for being able to create work that more self-portrait based work, or like, create the visuals for yourself, because I think that's a really tough thing to do. And I find when I have to do it for myself, it's like I fall into the deepest hole I've ever fell in. I can't see myself like others see myself, but I can see other people really clearly. And so the music for me was just like, that's my inspiration. That's what like you give me the song and it's like, that sounds like that. And my language is through the visuals, and everyone's got a visual language, but I think that's just sort of like a practice thing. And I think So yeah, it came from live, and then live can turn to press, and press can turn to album covers, and album covers can turn to single covers, and then you can still do live, and then you can still do album covers, and then you can still look after old people, and like, you know, like it's sort of like yeah, there was no kind of, I never actively was like, I want to photograph musicians.
I love that. Whenever I think of your artwork, I think it's all super bright, and obviously outfit, it makes sense. When it comes to maybe an artist that is a little unsure on what their creative, like what their music might look like in that visual medium, what sort of questions are you asking them to help tap into that?
Well, okay, so because I started doing the press shots and I was like, this is really interesting to me, but also musicians sacrifice a lot in every project and I don't want to screw this up for them. So I did a master's of advertising and then did a thesis in branding, like developing brand personality for emerging Australian indie musicians, because I was like, that's really specifically what I'm obsessed with. So I'll run with that. And a lot like Jaguar Jones was just saying then, like with the Pinterest board, I also found, because I often struggle if I've got the visual in front of me first, then I struggle to be able to like see other things, like, because I think, yeah, when it is, but I'm like, okay, so for me, I've found that often for the artist, it really works to create those Pinterest boards. And it's really helpful. And then for me to receive those Pinterest boards is really helpful, because then I can sort of bounce from there. And then another way you can do that as well is speed date yourself. So like actually create a framework, be like, who am, because you don't really know who you are till it's like in front of your face. So it's sort of like, I looked up like 101 speed dating questions in this kind of thesis, and like a lot of them are like, what season are you? And like what season do you love the most? And it's like, actually that's really helpful, because if it's autumn, use those colors. That's your color palette, like fucking sorted, you know, like, and so it's sort of like, and then things like, do you like being inside or outside? Or like, you know, like all of that being like, okay, then shoot outside, you know, and just doing that, and then mix that with your Pinterest board that, you know, that as an artist or the artist has given you. And then you've now got this kind of rich, like, you've got your all of those photos and that reference point. And then if you're a more of a written person, like a lot of artists are like more into writing and they can't think about visuals, then they can just write it down, and then you can get that Pinterest board, or you can develop a board for them and then kind of merge the two. Is that helpful? Is that not helpful? That's not helpful. That's helpful.
It's super helpful.
That's helpful. There we go.
Yeah, I think the Pinterest board idea is definitely one that makes sense. Even speed dating, I think I would much prefer like a written format, like thinking, oh yeah, what season am I? It can like really help, because I can't pick a color palette, but I can definitely pick a season. So it makes it a lot easier to break it down like that. I'd love to jump now to Triana. What is your sort of involvement when it comes to helping create visuals? I know that you create a lot of music videos, which is super cool. Do artists come to you with something in mind, or are you helping break down and like that creative vision from the get-go?
I feel like obviously it varies. I feel like over the years, like I've been doing it for 6 years, and I think by now I would say that the majority of times people come to me with a very small brief or like a vague idea, because I really like working with emerging artists that are still kind of discovering, you know, like a little bit about who they are. And so I feel like that's kind of how I ended up being like creative director / director. So majority of times I'm actually putting forward the concepts for the music videos. I would say I definitely, because I'm doing music videos, I kind of think of it more of like a song. So when I'm listening to a song, I'm thinking about the story, like what story is this song trying to convey? And when I think about the message of the song, I then think about the colors that I think, you know, like I try to pick 3 colors, because, you know, I feel like any good song would have like at least 3 different, you know, like moods. And then I try to kind of be like, okay, like, you know, in this part, like maybe it starts with like a red and then we go into an orange and then a yellow or something like that. To give a very specific example, today I was like doing a color palette breakdown of a music video, and the storyline is about an older guy who's grooming a younger girl. Obviously, the message is like, don't do that. But I was like, when I was like kind of like writing the ideas and whatnot, I was like thinking, oh, like I'm gonna make it so that like the color palette is the combination of this kind of like older kind of like fall colors, which is like the character of like the older man being a bit dry or a bit like, you know, like a bit of a moody guy. And then she's kind of like spring colors. And so when I was sort of like creating even like the locations, I was like, okay, I want places that have like dark wood, but then like lots of little like small flowers that are really colorful and blossoming. And when it comes to like things like the bathrooms that they're gonna use, like his bathroom is very like minimalist and expensive looking because he cares more about like status, and then her bathroom is more like about like flowers and very kind of spring sort of like energies, and that's the kind of thing that I'm constantly sort of thinking about, like with the message of the song and the emotional energies of the songs, like how can you use colors and set design, you know, to tell the story at a visual level. Like obviously the song in the lyrics is already telling that story, but like how can I emphasize that? And I think like another really good example is when I was working with Amel and the Sniffers. It was kind of like the first music video that they had done it with an intention of going global, I guess. And I had been to the gigs, and I knew that a lot of the people there at the time, you know, Amel and the Sniffers were predominantly playing to older men that were like, yeah, you know, the 70s are back. And I was like, cool, you know, like that's the audience. But I also knew that Amy really wanted to invite more women into the space. So when I was like writing the music video concept, I said, you know, let's do a VHS and let's do something that feels very much like, you know, all the current audience members are going to be like, you know, like, yeah, like, you know, like finally we're going back to the past, you know. But then I was like, in the color grade, which is when you know, like kind of like move the colors around, I asked the grader to make everything look purple and pink and very much like watercolors and like a fantasy, because that was my way of saying like, sure, we're going back into the past, but it's different now, because the energy is very like pop, it's very iconic, it's very like feminine, and so yeah, that's the type of thing that I'm constantly sort of like sketching or, you know, talking about with artists and things like that, like with who you are and your Pinterest boards and your speed dating questions, like with this one song, what's the message and how can we visually tell the story with colors, materials, textures, you know. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's super cool. I think obviously music videos are a really important asset to that storytelling for an artist. But for a upcoming artist, even sometimes nailing that single cover can be like something of its own. It's like its own world. I'd love to jump back to you, Dina. When it comes to your music now, there's obviously a much larger team behind it. But when it was like Baby Jaguar 5 years ago, like doesn't know how to walk yet. Oh my god, my papers, love this. What sort of team did you have behind you then? Was it mostly a DIY?
It's still the same, to be honest. And the truth is, like, I became a visual artist because I was an independent musician with limited resources, and I think a lot of us will be in the same position. And so I had to kind of step up into being my own art director, being my own music director, being my own like visual artist and everything, because I didn't have the money to, you know, pay for all of that stuff. But I'm so grateful because it actually opened up the mediums I'm allowed to like give myself permission to express in. And so music is just one aspect of the story I want to tell, and all the visuals around it continues the same story that the music is trying to say. And through that, I've just become a really, like, I am so much a visual artist as much as I am a musician. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is because, like, even though the project has grown and what we're tackling is even bigger, I think it's so important that at the end of the day, you are the number one art director in your own project, because then you are able to wield the power of, you know, Julia and Triana and do bigger and grander things and not get kind of like thrown about in the wind because you're unsure of yourself and what you want to say with your artistry. My team is pretty much the same. We might go and tackle bigger things, like we just did the Sydney Opera House, and my lighting designer sitting in the crowd, and he hates me sometimes with what I ask of him. But we're still the same unit, and we've grown together. And I think the working relationships you develop through all the different projects becomes so much stronger that you start to understand each other's language. And, you know, with the single artwork, we might just go and do bigger things now, but I still use the same core people, and that's because I trust them. And it's like dating when you're creating, and when you find the right people you want to date, you hold on to them. Don't let them go. So yeah, I think now I'm just like a lot more clearer with how I will produce a shoot and organize the shoot and articulate what I want from the shoot, and what I'm envisioning and meeting what I want a lot clearer, but it's still the same. And I think that's because, like, it's really tough after COVID too. Like, money isn't thrown about everywhere, and we're always having to streamline. So I think I just wanted to mention that because, like, even though it can feel sometimes like when you're starting out, like, but I don't have the money to do that stuff, that artist. Like, if I had the money, I could achieve that. But I just want to say, like, I'm still doing things on a tiny budget, and it just takes creativity and, you know, bringing a great team of people around you that you trust, and just like really be ambitious and aim for those things, and you can pull it off. But yeah.
Yeah, that's obviously super important to keep the ones that are doing a good job close, obviously. But when it comes to your sound changing, how do you ensure that branding sort of stays throughout?
Yeah, I like, as these two were talking about stuff, I still, like, it's so important, like, when you're working on a song, to go, this is the story of the song, and I want this story to be cutting through. But I also want you all to remember to step one, like, big step backwards and look at the whole umbrella of your entire project. Because I think, you know, if you look through all my music videos and all my artworks, they do always change, but there is some kind of like common branding theme throughout. And I think that the visual identity of your project is so important, because before people even listen to your music, they're seeing things. And that's the first line of communication that you're sending to your audience, and going, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, click play, please. You know, and so that's why I think the visual identity is super important. And if you're chopping and changing all the time, but there isn't this like common thread of who you are as an artist, I think it comes through that, like, your branding, your visual identity, your personality, you're unsure of that. But it doesn't mean you can't change throughout. It's really hard to articulate, but you know when there is like this like really strong visual identity in an artist, even when they're like, you know, shaving their head and turning Britney Spears, like there's still like this like identity. And I think like to try and discover what that is for you is so important. And you can take your time with that as well. And it will just get stronger with time. I definitely, starting out, was like, I think I'm this, but now I'm like, I know I'm this, you know. So just take your time with it, and slowly you'll start to be like, yeah, that's fucking me. Yeah.
We love it. We love to see it. Jumping over in a similar sort of vein over to Julia now, there's been artists that you've worked with consistently over time. How have you sort of tackled their, I guess, shift in sound and stuff, and making sure that your artistic direction still stays there throughout, but also like servicing that change?
I think, and I love what you've both just been saying. I'm just like, I'm here to watch you two. What just from a point that was also just made by Dina as well, in terms of like doing your visuals and doing things and not limiting yourself. Like, it's music and there's no rules. So if you want to be a painter, like, I'm not a painter, but I'm like, would you like me to paint your album cover? I'll figure it out, you know? And there's like, and you can't have ego with it. It's not like you can be like, I'm an incredible painter, allow me to paint your album cover. Like, I'm like, hey, I don't know how to paint, but I feel like I've did a drawing degree back in the day. I feel like I could figure it out. YouTube. And you just be upfront with people. And, you know, but like, if you're willing to put the work in, which I know both these people next to me put work in, and I've, you know, like, I haven't had a weekend since I can remember. Like, you're in the industry, you're working your butt off, but if you're like doing the work, just explore. Like, yeah, try other mediums. If you want to direct your own video, fucking do it. I directed a video and I was in the bathroom being like, wait, I googled what does a director do, because I was like, do I need to order catering? So like, you just do it, because it's like, it's the one place. Like, and even the art world's way stricter. Like, people are like, you know, in the gallery, a lot more serious. Like, it's music, there's so much space for fun. And like, you can see it in both of these two people's work as well. Like, when you see people creating stuff that's got energy behind it and was really fun, like, you soak it up and you look, because you're like, wow, that's got energy. And energy comes from believing in it and also having fun with it. And, you know, and the people around you, don't like get in fights with anyone. Like, just like treat everyone well. And like, that's the thing. Like, relationships, it's not like a, oh, who's more famous I can shoot next. That's not why you're there. It's sort of like, okay, I really believe in this musician. They can be tiny, they can be massive, it doesn't matter. But if you really believe in what they do, each time they send you a song, and I never expect that somebody's going to come back. I never think I'm owed that. I never think I deserve someone to come back to me or a repeat job. Every job is a gift, and I'm lucky to get it, and I like work my ass off for the next one. But it's like, when the artist comes and you see them kind of change over time, you kind of go on that journey with them. And I think I used to be a lot stricter in my approach. Like, okay, well, we did this last time, so let's really be careful about where we go this time. But now I've worked with so many different artists that it's kind of like, okay, this one artist over here is like, I would like to go to Luna Park on the next album. And then the album after that, I'm going to go and let's shoot only underwater shots. And I'm like, you know what? In my head, in my advertising brain, I'm like, that's a little bit different. Yeah. But I'm like, if I'm creating it, it will have a common thread at least, because I've got my own style, which comes with like time and also like a million micro decisions. That's all a style is. It's just like decisions that overlay each other over time. That's what a style is. So don't worry about your style, or, you know, that'll come with work. But I think it's like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where at the beginning I felt very strict about brand, and I felt very strict about like, this is right, because you want it to feel like your last song was pop and now you've gone a bit more edgy rock, and like, we need to make sure that we kind of follow that line but to tailor it over there. But now, to be honest, I'm a little bit more like, fuck it, let's have fun. Let's do what we want. It's, you know, the world might end, let's go. Let's just do what we feel like, and we'll just like, as we go, let's just like launch in that direction, but let's just consider all of those past decisions we've made over the past 7 years, and those will build up, and we've got that through line for you. I know that we add a certain amount of reds in the mid-tones for you. I know that we, you know, mainly do natural scenery. So if we're going to do it in the studio, let's bring some stuff back with us. You know, like, you always want to be like, okay, we can launch that direction, and we've decided to launch that direction, but we're going to take this little nugget, just pull a little suitcase from the last one and just like pull it across, so that we're not blindsiding people, but we've been free in, yeah, like you I think sometimes people, and I think you do this really naturally, but sometimes I think people are like, oh, I need to stick to this branding. I think, as you were saying, when it's just you don't think like, oh no, I need to do this. It's like each thing you release, each thing you do, it's like this feels like this new exciting thing that I haven't seen before. But yeah, of course it's their style, because it's them. They know who they are. And so I mean, I've sort of got a style with each artist I work with. I try as much as I can to make sure that I've got different themes and different narratives and different things for each artist, because that's really important as well. And it's them, and that happens naturally because each artist is so different. But yeah, that was so scatty. Yeah.
It makes sense though. Jumping now to Triana, with, I guess, especially with music videos and shooting, in this digital age, it is so much more than just a music video. It's like the Spotify canvases, it's the reels, it's the threads as of today. When it comes to like maybe that music video or that shoot or whatever it might be, how can an artist make the most out of a session?
It's hell.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say that I've been a music video director for like 6 years, and I still don't know who's meant to get the catering.
Producer.
Yeah, but like, you know, like a lot of times you don't have budget for a producer.
I'm the producer.
Yeah, so then that's the thing. Like sometimes like I'm producing and directing, and sometimes the artist is producing, and then I'm like, do I ask them to get the... Anyways, catering is like a whole thing. Okay, so the question is, in this day and age with music video, how do artists make the most to get the rest of the assets? Look, I think that's a tricky one, because I think it should be a very simple thing, to be honest. I think you kind of want to allocate most of your time and resources and budget to the actual music video and the concept and, you know, your look, and making sure that that is like a really interesting, captivating thing. And I think when it comes to like the TikToks, the visualizers and everything like that, I really feel like there's a tendency from labels to put a lot of emphasis around it, because their marketing teams want to feel really important. But honestly, I think it should be just like, just keep it simple, because honestly, on the day of the music video, you want to invest 100% of your energies on being present, on looking flawless, of, you know, having the best energy, sleeping well. And if you're also thinking of all these other assets you'd have to do, you're going to really shoot yourself in the foot. So if you're doing a music video and you also want a visualizer from it, I would say just like be like, okay, from that world that we're creating, what's a really interesting, like thing that would take like 5 minutes to shoot and I can do in a loop, or I can, just really quickly do, like, don't do anything that you have to like set up a whole new thing or anything like that. When it comes to doing TikToks, like I would say just like on the day, have like a friend that you really, that they're good with TikTok, and have that friend like kind of like creating content with you and like having fun and things like that. A lot of times I get asked to do the TikTok, but I mean, not me personally, but my team. But I feel like that becomes really inauthentic. Like TikTok is one of the most like authentic places. So I would really advise that if somebody's telling you to like outsource the TikTok content to another person, I would seriously just like really, really like try to get used to just ask a friend who's like TikToks you love and that vibes with you. Because I have seen so many times things like a person that is not vibing with the artist trying to do TikTok, and like you can tell on the screen that it's like an awkward thing. And it's like, how many times do you see in TikTok ads that are like, like, hi Australia, my name is blah 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 and I'm gonna come soon and you should come to my gig, yeah, cool. And it's like, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. It just feels really like off. So yeah. And also, I personally like to do photo shoots as part of music videos.
Yeah, cool.
And I mean, I don't take the photos myself. I hire photographers that I really like. But I feel like if you're creating a music video where you have already invested time and resources and, you know, like hair and makeup, like styling or whatever it is, I would say try to come up with like a really cool photo shoot that will take like 15 minutes and will create content that feels cohesive with the music video, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's just a screenshot. So even like if you're working at a studio, maybe look at locations nearby, like literally like in the alleyway or something, you know, or if you are like doing a concept, like maybe being a prop that only comes up in like the photo shoot. Yeah, just get a little bit creative and, because yeah, I do feel like, you know, post pandemic, like money is so limited. Like if you can, try to save like in the music video and the photo shoot. And that's literally me as a director saying that. Usually the director is like, oh, we don't have time for that. But
Every
you know.
time, Triana.
yeah. See, I told you should work with me. Yeah, so I think it can take 15 minutes and you're already in the look, you're already in the zone, you already have the props, you already have the energies. Just get it done on the day. Try not to separate the photo shoot and the music video. Yeah.
Yeah, two birds,
Can
one
I
stone.
answer that too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just being the artist, so the pressure is always on me to create content. For me, the art is number one. So I don't know if that's everyone's number one, but like you said, number one is the performance in the music video. So just get that done. And then the way I go about it is I hand my phone to my hairstylist or my makeup artist, or if you have a friend, sometimes I don't have a friend on set. So I just pass it to my hairstylist and I'll just be like, shoot whatever. Or I'll get the gaffer, you know, to just be like the BTS person. Just shoot whatever the fuck you want. I'll go through it and delete it later, whatever. Just go nuts. Because when you're performing, you cannot constantly be flicking between being an artist, being a performer, to being a content creator and an influencer. Like, it's just too much when you want to be performing your best in the music video. So number one is perform in the art. And then number two, just get everyone else to, you know, shoot all the other crap. And then number three, when you make that art with the music video and you need to pull a Spotify canvas, there will be a moment in that music video that you can just grab. You don't need to like think of it as another separate shoot. You just think about always repurposing your content. There is always a million ways to repurpose the exact same content over and over again. And I think that's what you just got to be training to do to make yourself extremely resourceful, is that most of the shit you put out, people don't even see. So put it out 100 times over. It doesn't really matter. And then just like make a little twist on it. Like, oh, this is when I did this on the music video. Enter scene of the same content, you know? So like you just be creative in all the stuff that already exists within that 3 minute that you created, you know, in that shoot, and don't have to think too much more beyond that, because it really does get exhausting. I'm exhausted from trying to be wearing all the 50 hats that you have to wear as an independent artist now. So, and I do the same thing. Photo shoot and music video happens on the same day. I can't afford a makeup artist for 2 days. So we just try and do it in one. And I try and allocate, like, because I produce my own videos, I will schedule the time to do that and be like, half an hour shoot, get it done then, and whatever happens then is what you get, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting points within that. And just if you have any questions, there should be a QR code that will pop up at some point, or you might have scanned it when you come in, just so we can filter those through as well. Now is a good chance to get some questions through. But just, yeah, we'll move. But just one, I guess, for all three of you in different sort of from what we're going on there. What is, like, if you, again, small team, really grassroots level, what are some tips to, obviously wearing multiple hats is a great one, but if you maybe can't afford the stylist or the videographer or something like that, what are some tips just to be able to still get that content?
Well, I was my own everything for ages, and I still am. I now do work with a stylist when I can, but otherwise I was styling myself. But it can be really difficult to style yourself while you're shooting. So it might just be that you ask the makeup artist or the hairstylist, can you make sure this piece of ribbon is symmetrical? You know, like give the styling notes on to someone else who can take that role on for you, but you can do the pre-production and prep beforehand if you can't afford a stylist. Same thing. Hair and makeup, usually, you know, there's some really talented people who can do both hair and makeup, and you can pay them the one rate to do both if you can't afford to split that into two different roles. Same thing with most directors can also be producers, you know, and a lot of the cinematographers that I work with are also editors. A lot of people in the creative industry really do wear a lot of different hats. We all do, and I'm sure all of you do in the audience too. And so you just try and find that out. And also, like, what I love with my team is finding the potential and finding out what they want to be doing too. So if they want to grow in a particular place and go like, you know what, I would actually love to go further into art directing or something, then you can be like, well, let's work together and figure that out and kind of soundboard ideas off each other. And so you're all growing together in this creative industry. Just like Julia started out with, you know, doing live photography, you know, and now you're doing amazing stuff as an art director and visual artist. I think everyone in the creative industry is hungry for opportunities to express and create. So you just kind of being as versatile as you can be and as resourceful.
Yeah. Amazing. On a similar note about being resourceful, and obviously budget is a big thing that can come in, especially at this grassroots level. Are any of you familiar with like grant processes or like maybe just like some money savvy tips when it comes to creating visuals?
The money savvy tip is do everything yourself.
Totally.
It's like, I'm not across the grant process, which I'm not sure if either of you are, but I think that budgeting tip is that exactly what Dina was just saying then. Like, don't self-limit. Don't try and be like, I'm not a stylist. Like, just learn about it. Like, every stylist, like, I remember there's a Jen Clower song, and one of the lyrics was, this really stuck with me so hard, but one of the lyrics was, one becomes a writer by writing. And I'm like, I remember hearing it being like, ding, like, but a writer wasn't always a writer. Like, and it's like, no, and a stylist wasn't always a stylist. I wasn't always an artist. None of us were, you know, always artists. Like, we became artists by doing things that felt vulnerable at the time and putting it out into the world, which is a vulnerable thing. But all that is literally being like, Google styling. How do you style? And learn about it. Like, just learn about as much as you can, because you're gonna need to know eventually, and it's gonna help form that sense of identity for yourself as well. And you can do it for other people. Like, I was a stylist for 10 years. Am I a stylist? No, I'm not. But I was a stylist because the budgets weren't there. I paint the sets. I make the sets. Am I a carpenter? Am I a painter? No, I'm not. But
Yes.
I do it, you know? Like,
Yes, you
yeah,
are.
I am now. Believe me, I am. And like the other day, I'm getting married in September. I'm going on a tangent here for 1 second. But it pays off, because I got a secondhand wedding dress and I looked at her and I was like, if 10 years of styling has given me anything, it's that I know this dress is going to be a perfect fit for me. And I tracked her down on Instagram, Facebook. I tracked her down because she didn't respond on the website. And I went to her house and it was a perfect fit. So even if learning that thing doesn't help you in the moment, it will in the future.
I would say that, like, just remember that, like, it's meant to be fun. You know, like, I think a lot of times we put so much pressure into, like, the results of it, when the important thing is that you are a creative expressing yourself, and that is literally the thing that matters the most. And, you know, if you want it to be fun and you don't necessarily have, like, big budgets, like, or, like, budgets at all, like, have fun with your friends. Like, think of friends that you like how they put on their makeup, and then ask them if they want to do their makeup with you. You know what I mean? Like, think of friends that dress well. Be like, kind of borrow things from your wardrobe, you know? But also, I mean, I never studied like any of this. I studied neuropsychology at Melbourne Uni. I got a scholarship, and that's how I landed in Australia, like, literally. And then I started making music videos with friends that didn't have any budget, but they were like, oh, you know, like, we like Like, you're really creative. And I was like, yeah, but like, that doesn't mean anything. And they were like, no, just, do music videos. And I was like, I don't know anything. And they were like, just use a phone. And so my first music videos were like using like iPhones, and like you can literally see like my finger in the camera in like a lot of the shots. And I embraced that. I was like, let's do an edit where like we like zoom into the finger. And then I was doing things with my friends. Like, we would literally ask my friends to like like go to op shops with us and like come up with the concepts together. And it would be like literally 10 friends of mine just like coming up with ideas, and we started out with like mobile phones, then we started getting more budget, and I kept like getting my friends to help me, like eventually got like a handy cam and eventually VHS, and now I'm working with really big budgets, which is crazy. But like, just have fun with it, like work with your friends that you creatively vibe with. Concepts shouldn't be that hard. Like, I feel like 90% of the music videos that I've done are based on dreams that I've had whilst listening to the song. So I do that. I like listen to a song like a million times and I fall asleep, and then I think about the dream that I had and I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. I'm going to recreate that, yeah, like ask ChatGPT to come up with concepts for you. It's actually really helpful. To help you improvise, do tarot readings for the concepts, you can find inspiration in anything. So it should be something that if you are with the right team and they have the right energies, you can create like really, really cool music videos on very little budget. My music video that has the most amount of views is the Amala and the Sniffers ones, right? And that one is like I think it has like almost 2 million views or something. That one I spent 1K on because that was the budget I was given. And they were like already like a band or something, like a big band. They had a manager or whatever. We hired a trailer and we spent $20 at the $2 shop on like dog things that we put on the guys in the band. And then I made a cake. And that was the video. And it literally is like the biggest video I've made, like in terms of views and popularity and whatever. So like, never ever, ever think that a budget it's going to constrain you in creativity, and never think that because you or someone else is in the specific role, like they cannot become that thing, right? Like, I never thought of myself as a director just because I was holding like a phone and literally shooting my friend doing ridiculous things at Docklands. But I was, because that's literally what I was doing. So yeah, just have fun with it. And yeah, that's my advice. Yeah.
I'll do the boring chat, the grant chat.
Go on.
I'll come in and do the boring chat because
Thank
like
you. I'm here to learn.
Being an artist, like, we have to be our best business managers as well. And to add to all of this too, I'm the same. I studied electrical engineering at Melbourne Uni and I was a business analyst. I did not do music growing up. And then I suddenly decided to be a musician and a visual artist. So it was the same thing for me. But I wanted to say, like, even at my level, like, I just did a Sydney Opera House show with the biggest budget I've ever had to work with, and the budget still sucked. And, like, I just want to say, like, budgeting is a great skill to continue, like, honing, because the budget, I just saw your face just go flat, because it just never stops. Even at a show with the Sydney Opera House, it was the biggest show in my career with the biggest amount of money I ever had to work with, but they wanted so much from me. And like, we were so ambitious with the show that, we have to be so clever about the budget. It got to the point where I had to hire a van and drive 10 people down to Sydney from Brisbane, because I live in Brisbane, to make it happen, because I couldn't afford flying 10 people. So those kind of like nifty little things on being resourceful will always happen, even when the projects get bigger and the shows get bigger and the money gets bigger, because your dreams get bigger as well. So constantly trying to be conscious of how you're budgeting and learning that skill and managing your cash flow is super important. Boring talk from the artist. And then grants. grants suck. I just want to be clear. Grants are the most boring thing you will ever have to do, because what you're trying to do is ask money from the government. And to get money from the government, you have to meet their requirements. And because for them to like validate giving money to artistry, like an art, like the arts, it means that they have to have these kind of like stupid criterias that are actually so not creative and really dry and boring. They require a lot of work from you, and you might get the grant and you most likely won't get the grant. I just recently got a grant like last week, and I was over the moon because I've been applying for grants for so long. You will fail most of the time. And my tip for you is to save all your grant applications and reuse the grant applications, so that you're like eventually minimizing the work that you're doing towards the grant. When they start asking for the bio, you don't have to rewrite that bio. You grab that old bio and pull it up. And you know, with every failed grant application, you can also ask them for feedback. And when you get that feedback, you then take that old grant application and make it better for the next one. So you're constantly repurposing. Sometimes, a lot of the times, there's like 10 grants available and it's kind of all the same, just a little bit tweaked. So just have them all together and you just kind of upload and off you go, like shoot them all through, you know. And that's my biggest tip, is that you're constantly honing like that really boring governmental talk, and then you're getting better at it, and then you'll kind of like increase your chances of getting that grant. The other thing is that you might consider, when you feel like you're super ready, finding a grant writer, paying that like few $100 to get someone to write that grant for you. But I don't like to recommend that a lot of the times, because to get the most out of your grant writer, you got to know yourself and communicate that to the grant writer. Otherwise, the grant writer is just going to take your $100 and just like, you know, and shoot it through. So I really recommend you like practicing writing those grants, really looking at the criteria. It's super boring, but looking at that criteria, because a lot of the times the grants that get approved is not because you're amazing. It's not because you're creative or you have a really great idea or you're going to bring something really great to the community. It's because you've hit those really dry marks. So just focus on that and then work on the articulation of what you're trying to bring with that money, and then you'll get the grant. Sorry, that was a really boring chat, but hopefully that helps. Claps.
I think it's super important nonetheless to cover. I've had a question come through the Slido from the QR code behind me, if you have anything else, which I guess can be applicable to all of you in one way or another, especially when you look back to some of your earlier work. How do you tackle perfectionism? I know.
Someone tell me.
I feel like I think that rather than maybe focusing on the question in that way, maybe I would reframe it to, how do you free yourself from perfectionism? Because perfectionism is actually gonna slow you down. Perfectionism, it's not a good thing. Yeah, it's not. I think I'm pretty sure that all of us, I'm going to take a wild guess that the three of us would have at one point or still today consider ourselves, you know, a perfectionist, and that's great. But I think that like so many times is going to like limit you, because making mistakes is part of the process. It's part of experimenting, it's part of exploring. And so it wasn't until I shifted my mind from thinking everything I do has to be perfect to everything I do has to be in line with how I energetically feel as a person, that things actually started to go from me having meltdowns and anxiety attacks every single shoot the day before, to me actually enjoying my career. So I would say that you want to turn that perfectionist energy into the energy of just like being someone that is like very fluid, very present, very calm and just sort of allowing yourself to be human. Like on my sets, a lot of times, things happen, like other people come and will be like, okay, I forgot to bring this thing, or this bad thing happens. Like bad things happen all the time on sets. And I think I am always like, oh, that's okay. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, like you're human, you're allowed to make mistakes. Like that's all, that's all fine. Cause like, what am I meant to be? Like yell at them or like get upset at them? Like, no. And so if you're going to treat other people like that, you should probably treat yourself like that as well. So yeah, I think maybe think of the question of how do you free yourself from it, because it's not really going to help you. Yeah.
I think also that's bang on. How do you free yourself from it? Because, and I sometimes go, okay, it's a 3-step process here. I'm going to allow myself, when the thing is, like due, and I want it to always be better than the last thing I did. And I want it to be the best thing I can do at that moment. And I have to be proud of it. And the artist has to be proud of it. Because like, as you can see, like there's so much at stake. Every project, like you put your heart and soul in. So if I'm not giving it my all, and whether you're giving something your all, and if I'm not doing that, then I need to do that. So it's like, and then I give myself 10 minutes of obsessive looking over pixel by pixel at the very end, when I already have looked over the pixels like 3,000-4,000 times. But I'm like, I've got 5 minutes now, 5 minutes, and then I do it. And at the end of the 5 minutes, I look at it, and I'm like, oh, that blue's a little bit off. And then I'm like, and then I look outside, and I'm like, world's gonna end someday. Is this really important? Is this the fact that I feel bad about this tiny corner in a thing? Is that important? In the grand scheme of the world, what's happening in people's lives? No, it's not. Is anyone going to notice? No. Okay. Send it. And just send it and then be like, forget about it. When I look at it, I'm going to love it again. And just do that. And then also, sometimes it helps to Google the best of the best in your field and be like, is it as good as that? No, it's not. Send it off. Like just it helps to take the edge off yourself a little bit.
I mean, I'm like similar, but I love my perfectionism. So like, I don't want to free myself from my perfectionism. I embrace my perfectionism, but I go like, I allow my perfectionism, but I think I'm a lot more logical, and I think about like, what are my goals and what do I want to achieve? And when does the perfectionism hinder those goals? And that's when I start to go, okay, it's time to let go. But otherwise, I fucking obsess the whole time.
You can have a little bit. Like you want to be upset, and you want to give yourself time, but I think consciously, because sometimes it can, when perfectionism becomes very bad OCD, then you go, okay, I need to which, sometimes it does. Like sometimes you're like, it has to be on 0.5 red, 0.5 red, 0.7 blue, 0.7 blue, 0.5 red. And then I'm like, stop it. And you need to pull, that's the thing. Indulge yourself, but then, check yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I'm
saying, into everything you were just saying. I was like, yes, the right kind of blue, the right kind of blue.
I feel like that's what I was saying, all my statements about perfectionism with like a question mark at the end, because I was like, am I actually saying this? But like, I think it's like, I don't know, like, I think it's more about like maybe like about finding the right balance, because as much as you want to really care and like, it's important that you want the best out of every project that you're doing. I think I started putting like different like I guess like goals in my career about like, I think after the pandemic, which there were things like, am I sleeping enough? Am I feeling okay? Because at some point my career became this thing where everyone was like, whoa, you're doing so well. And I was like sleeping 3 hours a day, completely exhausted. I didn't see any of my friends. And I think maybe that's like a healthier way of, tackling the perfectionist thing, more like, how do you make your perfectionism work for you, rather than like, like make you a workaholic that is very much like grumpy and alone all the time,
Love it.
I'd say like, as an artist, like if your goal is to release 2 singles this year, and your perfectionism is stopping you from doing that, then that's when you kind of reel it back and go like, you know what, I did my best and these singles are ready to go out into the world. But if your perfectionism is stopping you from releasing into the world, and you're just like, I want to be a musician, but they're not ready yet, and you say that for 10 years, then that's a problem. But like, that's why I think about it like paired together. Like, I do love that I am a perfectionist, because that's what all my artistry comes from, is that I have attention to detail and I care about the little things. But I also set goals on what I want to achieve by when. And if, I don't get it to that point by then, I just let go and go, I did my best. It's time to let that baby go. So, yeah, anyway, I think we can talk about other things.
We're all feeling really anxious.
Yeah,
Just like, oh,
We're
what did
not
I?
OCD.
And then you're like running through your head, like, oh no, oh I did let that one go. Oh, should have let that one go. Oh no, but then maybe the best.
It's
is
not
yet to
the right
come.
kind of blue. It's not the right kind of blue. It's not the right blue.
It kind of reminds me, that last note that you were saying about like just letting it go and letting it into the world kind of reminds me of that quote that's like, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So it's like a good mix of like perfectionism.
Like,
and also
I
just
want to
letting it
share a
happen.
story, because like with my lighting designer, I always say no pink on stage. No pink. I am not a pink person. And then that photo that's on there from the push, it's a pink photo. And Jake straight away was like, oh my God, it was when the red and the blue got mixed in 1 second and the photographer took that photo and it's pink. I swear I didn't put pink on that stage. But I was like, no, I actually really like that photo. Like, I've asked my manager to send
Love
me
is
that
not
photo.
the opposite of hate. Indifference is. So the fact you hated the pink, you're gonna love the
Yeah,
blue.
well,
You're
I'm
going
just
pink
saying,
next
in that
time.
moment, I let my perfectionism go, and I was like, you know what, that pink was pretty good, but still not the right kind of blue.
I really love that photo though. It's a really
Yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty photo.
I was gonna say as well, like I think something that really helped me was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I was working on on something with G Flip, and she's always having so much fun, right? Like I've never met an artist that is like literally just having a blast at all times, like always with a big smile, like always like woo. And then I was talking to her about her, her like approach of her career, and everything like that, because she's one of those like amazing like DIY artists that just, like went from like nothing to everything, but everything was super calculated. And she showed me this like Excel spreadsheet in which she had her goals by year, like dating from like, I think at the time it was like 2018, and it was like 2018 goals, 2019 goals, like all the way to like 2023, right? And I can tell you right now, everything that she's been doing for the past year, it's like literally what was on that like goal, right? Like she wanted to move to LA, she wanted to collaborate with this artist that she's been doing, like all these things. And she said to me, I don't tick something off the list of my goals unless I had fun doing it. And that's why every time, and I've seen her do like some crazy hours, like everything going wrong, she's never not having fun. She's never not smiling. So I think it's about the attitude of like, if I'm doing this and I'm not going to be having fun, did I actually achieve something good in my life? You know what I mean? Like, was it worth it? So after that time with G Flip, I think I've really changed as well, like how I worked on my goals and achievements, because you can have the most amazing strategies, you can be ticking all your goals, but if you're not like enjoying it and you're not having fun with it, then like, yeah, it's, and I kind of feel like that kind of maybe hopefully answers a little bit about the perfectionist question as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Super insightful, all three of you. I think we're going to wrap this one up, but just when it comes to creating visuals, what was one last thing that you want the audience to take? Really put you on the spot. We've done like a whole lap.
The psychology of colors. I think colors are super important. Read about them, and the reason why you want to read about them is because you kind of want to, not because you want to be like, oh, like blue is this thing, but I think it's because it's like there's something about like the way that most people are familiar with certain visual cues, and so then once you understand the rules of how subliminally speaking people think with that color, then you can think of how to manipulate that. And when you think about any color, you can, like for example, like red can signify love, but it can also be a really good like horror color. So I always like think about how like colors can be like completely opposite emotions and completely opposite feels. But in order to manipulate that, you need to understand what people feel when they look at that color. So that's my one contribution today. Yeah. Become a color expert. Yeah. And obviously, you know, in alignment with yourself. So, yeah.
That's a lot I've just learned about colour from that. So thank you.
But what does it mean for you to wear blue, though?
I know, blue. I think, do you want to, I'll go next and then you go next. I think I remember I went to a photographer in America just for a couple of days to shadow him. And I think at the time I was like, oh, you know, what can I do next? What can I do next? What can I do next? And I was working really hard. So tip one, work really I'm giving two. One, work really hard because I have worked with some younger or seen some younger photographers who I'm like, oh, you're not working very hard, but you're expecting a lot. Just work hard. Like, work hard and know what hard work is. And because all the musicians you're working with are working so hard. Like, you hear what they have to do to get a song off the ground. They are working so hard, and the emotional investment and emotional work is so full on that, like, as a visual creator, if you're not the musician creating the visuals, if you are a photographer or a visual creator, work so hard for them and put in their work plus more and try and do your absolute best for them. So there's that one. And then also what he told me was just like, be patient, mate. Like, don't just keep your head down. Don't sort of look up at what other people are doing or, but they've got this opportunity. Just, you will get the opportunities that you are meant to get that are the best things for you. And that's what you learn is when if your head's down and you're putting your all in, they opportunities will come and good things will come, and they will come in the way that was always meant for you and not for the person next to you. So that's probably my other one.
Are we mainly musicians or like visual?
We should have asked that
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah, when
Put
you were
your hands up
talking
if
about it,
you're
I
a
was just
musician,
like,
maybe.
wait.
And maybe hands up if we're like into photography.
Oh,
Cool.
Hell
okay.
yeah.
Well, I guess what I would say is like, I mean, if you're a musician and you naturally don't really like love the visual side of things, like when we're creating music, we're being storytellers, right? And the visual identity is part of that storytelling. And the way I like to see like Jaguar Jones is that I'm building a world, and building that world takes time, and there's many different ways to build that world. The visual side of my music is part of that world building, and the world that we see now with Jaguar Jones has taken years. When I started out, people did not understand why I cared so much about my visual identity, because it didn't matter. Like, music videos does not convert to streams and blah, blah, blah. But over the years, people now see me as that, and opportunities has come because I focus so much on the visual side of my music, and I've created a world, and now people are understanding that there's this whole entire world that comes with the Jaguar Jones project. So I think I just want to encourage you to like push your music into a different medium to tell that same story you're trying to tell with your chords and your lyrics, and do it visually as well. And also that it takes time, and like every decision you make, and you know, all the music you release and all the visual artwork, music videos, your social media content, all of that, and your live performances, all of that adds to the entire world that you're building, that eventually people will want to step inside it and be in that world with you. So I don't know if that helps or anything, but
Definitely does.
I'm really sorry to be that person that says one last thing, but one last thing, now that I know that 99% of people here are artists, I would say embrace fantasy, because ultimately music is a beautiful form of escapism, and most people that listen to your music want to escape with it. So embrace fantasy. Don't think that because like, I think when you're thinking about like who you are, so, and all these kind of things, like, don't necessarily think about like it can be a different person who you are than who your alter ego is. So I would say embrace fantasy, embrace creating universes, embrace taking people out of reality through, you know, lighting or music videos or like concepts and ideas. Because at the end of the day, I feel like anyone who wants to, you know, listen to your music will want to get lost in it. And to get lost in it, I think the more you're kind of like pushing people out of the real world, like the more that people will just want to like, yeah, take that ride with you. So yeah, fantasy is cool.
Super cool. Awesome. Well, a big thank you to Dina, Jaguar Jones, Triana, and Julia for jumping on this panel. Thank you. A big thank you to The Push for putting on these music industry masterclasses. The next one will be on the 21st of September at the Channel at the Art Centre. So keep your eyes out for more details on that one. There will be food soon. There'll be an incredible performance from Megna soon. So stick around.
I feel I go ooh ooh, you go la 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 la, ah, la la la. I can la 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 la. I wanna get what I want. Don't stop. Give me what you got. 'Cause I can't wait any more. Don't even talk about the consequence. 'Cause right now you're the only thing that's making any sense to me, and I don't give a damn what they say or what they think. 'Cause you're the only one who's on my mind. I'll never ever let you leave me. I'll try to stop time forever. Never wanna hear you say goodbye. Bye.
I feel so untouched and I want you so much that I just can't resist you. It's not enough to say that I miss you. I feel so untouched right now. Need you so much somehow. I can't forget you. But go crazy from the moment I met you. Untouched, and I need you so much.
See you, breathe you, I want to be you. Ah, la la la, ah, la la la. You can take time to live the way you gotta live your life. Give me all of you. Don't be scared, I'll see you through the lonely nights of wanting more. Don't even think about what's right or wrong or right. 'Cause in the end, it's only you and me, and no one else is gonna be around to answer all the questions that behind in you and how you're meant to be. So even if the world falls down today, you still got me to hold you up. And I will never let you down.
before I start something. Yeah, hold me back. So hold me back, 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 hold me back. 'Cause I like fighting. Yeah, hold me back. It's only human of me. Like hold me back, 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 hold me back. I don't wanna fight. Nothing wrong about you. I don't know what's wrong with you, wrong with you. Oh, I don't wanna see bloodshed. Oh no, what's lost will never be found. When I close my eyes, I can almost feel like what would be like. Such a dream and I can almost feel like what would be like when I close my eyes. When I make a scene like hold me back, 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 hold me back. 'Cause I like fighting, yeah, hold me back. It's only human of me, like hold me back, hold me back, hold me back, yeah, hold me back, hold me back, hold me back.
How'd you like that part?
That is so good.
Cool. I think I'm gradually like finding my rhythm with your stuff. Like it's taken a little while to get there to figure out like what guitar needs to be for your stuff.
Yeah,
But it's like
they
the
do.
moments of flashiness, but like mostly textural and.
Yeah, no, it's so
Is
good.
there anything else you want to run or? Like, okay.
No,
Couple minutes. Oh, is that us now? Or? Yeah, cool.
okay.
Some words.
Should I help
I
with
love
the
words.
chairs down? Yeah, help. I don't want the mic to
You should go up and like have a cool entrance.
go off and have a cool entrance.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm just gonna blow my nose.
Yeah, do your thing.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Yeah, good.
Good.
How are you feeling?
Good. It ran a little bit over. My
Okay.
apologies.
There's so much to say.
There was so much to say. Whoa. Yeah, I realized as soon as I did it, I'm so sorry. Okay. I'll wait for her to blow her nose. I don't want to like call people just. No, that's okay. Hey everybody, if I could get you to shimmy your way back into the main room. We have an incredible performance coming up. We'll wait until there's a movement. There is no shimmy.
That's alright. Very engrossed in the conversation. Oh, that's my dad, by the way. You would have met him at the house party. He was there.
Oh, yeah. Hey everybody, if I could get you to shimmy back into the main room, we're about to have an incredible performance. Yeah, you could.
We can do the first song with them, and then like once that's happened, you can. There you go. I'll just go.
Oh my god, please. Hey everybody, we're about to have an incredible performance. If you want to come shimmy into the main room. Woo! Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Is that the new fabric? Is that the new fabric? Yes, I'm so keen. Yeah, it works.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna speak and then I'm gonna head over to you. Okay. Hello, everybody. If we can continue to make our way back into the main room, we have an incredible performance coming up from Magna. No, that's okay. I'll just talk and then, yeah. Magna, who is to my left, your right, is an incredible Naarm-based artist who has just released a new song called Pacifist Philosophy. It is absolutely incredible. She makes music that is a blend of her advocacy and her love of hip-hop. She's absolutely incredible. You are absolutely blessed to be in her presence. Magna, this is for you.
Thank you, thank you. All right, this is Hypnotizing. Oh, it's going through the big screens. One little birdie kid told me that everyone wants a piece of me. Everyone wants a glimpse of the protagonist of the real story. You know, I know, we know who's the hero around here. You know, that's so obvious. You're inclined to feel free. Yeah, in the summer, you know I stay cool and fresh. In the winter, I stay icy freeze. Whatever the weather, I always stay cold. I always stay cold. Look now, you're so I feel like I'm alive. Come closer with all your hypnotized. Yeah, you make me crazy like la 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 la. Hey, look me in the eye. You know you're mesmerized. Hey, when you see me walking, run away, 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 away. Hey, and baby I'm the Piper of Hamelin. Let the flute captivate, enchanted. When you see me, get away from me. Get away from me. In the hustle, I stand out from the rest. In the bustle, you know I always arrest your attention. I always stay cold. I always stay cold. Look now, you're so I feel like I'm alive. Hey, with all your hypnotized, you make me crazy like la 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 la. I'll stay in your shadow, follow you to London or Rio. Hey, Piper playing la 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 la. How are we doing tonight? Yeah, thank you so much to The Push for having me and my guitarist Aiden. La 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 la. He finding me so hypnotizing. All that I need. Thank you very much. That was Hypnotizing. So that's an original song of mine. Oh, thank you very much. I always love the Push crowd because I always feel so welcomed and it's such an inviting space. So pat yourself on the back for being such nice people. This next song is a song I've just released, like Sarah said. Woo, thank you. It's called Pacifist Philosophy, and it's about that wars are a very silly concept. Why do we resort to violence to deal with issues? And, you know, sure, you preach, you know. Okay. I don't mess with you, and you don't mess with me. That's how we like it, pacifist philosophy. I don't pull no punches, nor do I throw the meat. I don't care for no drums, fights and tears I don't want need. It's so hard to take a ground, especially when no one's around. Oh my God, a fight ensues a crazy. Walk away like I'm not fazed by it. I don't wanna fight with you. I got time for that. Don't wanna fight with you. I got no time for that. Hold me back before I start something. Yeah, hold me back. Don't wanna make a scene like hold me back, 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 hold me back. 'Cause I like fighting. Yeah, hold me back. It's only human of me. Like hold me back, 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 hold me back. I don't wanna fight with you. You got something very wrong about you. I don't know what's wrong with you, wrong with you. Oh, I don't wanna see bloodshed no more. Hey, what's lost will never be found. When I close my eyes, I can almost feel like what peace feels like. When I close my eyes, when I dream at night, I can almost feel like what life would be like. When I close my eyes, yeah. Hold me back before I start something. Yeah, hold me back. Don't wanna make a scene like hold me back, 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 hold me back. 'Cause I like fighting. Yeah, hold me back. It's only human of me. Like hold me back, 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 hold me back. I don't wanna be the figure it out. I don't wanna be the figure it out with you, with you. Oh, oh, alright. Oh, alright. Hey, hey, woo! Thank you. I just realized the house lights are so like, I'm sweating. It's a good workout. The next song is In My DNA. This is one of my first songs, one of my favorite songs, and here we go. I'm stuck as I keep following the flow. Here against my will, can't leave, I wanna go. Every moment I'm here, I feel myself being pulled deep. Born here, raised here, mom's here, life's here. The man here and still fear. There's stairs, make me feel weird. I can make your whole world, little girl, as the world moves like da 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 da. It's my life and I can't fight it. Nobody got any hope, I'm blindsided. I don't think that fate's on my side, but faith is on my side. Yeah, hide there, good night there. Why you hide there? Ain't no jump scare, but I'm right here. Wanna find me? It'll be a sight to see. Hey, yeah. Hide there, good night there. Why you hide there? Ain't no jump scare. You can't trust me, but can I really? It'll be a sight to see. Hey, yeah. Hell, it's the only home I know. I'd escape to Monte Carlo, but all I can afford is low on man's low. Gotta survive, that's my motto. On the corner of Main Street, I'm so scared and I'm scared of me. Deep dive into the dark underbelly. Hey, hey, hey. It's my life and I can't fight it. Nobody got any hope, I'm blindsided. Woo! I don't think that fate's on my side, but faith is on my side. Yeah, hide there, good night there. Why you hide there? Ain't no jump scare, but I'm right here. Wanna find me? Be a sight to see. Yeah, yeah. Hide there, good night there. Why you hide there? Ain't no jump scare. You damn places in my DNA. I'm a victim of my circumstance. Victim of my circumstance. Even if I want it, I can't just stay. This damn places in my DNA. I'm a victim of my circumstance. I'm a victim of my circumstance. Everyone, follow me. Let's turn this to Zumba class. 2-step. Yeah. Now twirl around. Woo. Now do this one. Yeah. Are you hiding there? Hey, yeah, yeah. Why you hiding there? Ooh, yeah. Good job, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was fun. Woo! What's the next song? Oh, thank you. So the next song is 2045. It is unreleased, and before we play it, it's about how. Oh, thank you. It's about how time moves so incredibly fast. You wake up like, how is it already July? Feels like as you get older, time goes really quick. Does anyone feel that way? Yeah, I know. That's why I wrote it. Okay, here's 2045. Time turns back on me, time turns back on me, yeah, yeah, yeah. Used to be guaranteed as fast as the sea, hey, yeah, but now I feel like time is finally escaping me. It's moving so fast I can't even find it. Guess I'm aware now, I'm running. My feet removed from my brain, I'm growing, but I don't feel like I have been myself lately. People talking shop while I'm sitting here waiting. It's 2045, what are you saying? It's 3055, what are you saying? What are you saying? What the hell you say? It's 2045, when did we get to the year 3000? A second ago I was an infant, and I guess it's all change. No time to play. When did we get to the year 4000? I always feel like I'm surrounded with memories that happened to me. And I know it's all inside me, and there's nowhere to hide it. I'm ignoring all the signs. Hey, to grow up and not be a child. And I know it's all inside me, and there's nowhere to hide it. But time will find its way through, just like I found that it outgrew me. When did we get to the year 3000? A second ago I was an infant, and I guess it's all changed. No time to play. When did we get to the year 4000? I always feel like I'm surrounded with memories that I've been to today. Hey. 'Cause I've been looking at you, and I see the way I shine, and I hope I keep that shine. 'Cause I've been looking at you, and I see the way I shine, and I hope I keep that shine. Hey, hey, hey. Woo! Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. What time is it? What time is it? Summertime. Anyway, do we have time to do one more song, or should we wrap up? Oh, thank you so much for having me, everyone. That was so much fun. Thank you. Big thank you to the Push, to all the speakers. Thank you. And to you all. Thank you. But thank you so much. And thanks to my dad for coming and always supporting me during these gigs. Yeah. And Aiden, of course. And everyone at the push, and love you guys. Bye. See ya. Woo! Thank you. And Sarah. Yeah, woo! Thank you. And I'm gonna name people in the crowd. And Kitty and Sarah.
We're still glowing. I'm down, let's kick it while we're still young. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. We're still glowing. I'm down, let's kick it while we're still young. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. Wanna show you places in my mind. Wanna show you places in my mind. believe it until then I meet them. They're right in the part that I know I won't go. All for the change, people go up, but I'm all for the lane. Getting ahead on that soul for the mean. Getting ahead on that cash, I remain up. Stepping on ends cause they smart and they follow. I will find my never mind in the shallow. Don't even up with them, I get on the narrow. Don't fit on this one cause I live on the callow. And you I will find, even if I waste the rest of me. And you will be mine until the end when still is you I see. What would you wait for me? I can really make it feel like we are diamonds cause you are one. And you are fine if I do waste on me. Money over but so I never do work, I never do slack. Never be wanting, I'm shining like diamond. I never look back, but I all do that. Time in the day that I've been through, I'm climbing the suns up at cash, but I'm not for the money. I do because I don't feel like feeling funny. Without all these things, I think I will be nothing like AB type rap, except that it's on rhyming, get it? I'm all for the get it. I don't share, get it, get it. I work and I spit it. Don't do the fast or hallucinate, get it. I keep it up even if I'm not that ready. Don't even up with them, I'm quick and not steady. I do it myself and I do it a teddy. I could bring them up, but I'm right there already. And you I will find, even if I waste the rest of me. And you will be mine until the end when still is you I see. What would you wait for me? Diamonds 'cause you are one. What would you wait for me? Are one. What would you wait for me? Diamonds 'cause you are one. What would you wait for me? I'm all for the get it, hey. I don't share, get it, get it. I work and I get it. Don't do the fast, all listen, they get it, hey. I'm all for the get it, hey. I don't share, get it, get it. I work and I spit it. Don't do the fast, all listen, they get it, hey. Money over. Money over, but bitches. All that you give is what you don't deliver. Stuck in a phase, disguided by mistakes. Your addictive poison is dragging me down. Trying to swim out, I'm stuck, you're watching me drown. Lying awake, the colors don't fade from the tears on my face. I've let Thank